All right.
As a preliminary matter, this is Brian Sullivan, Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brooke Moore,
I am here.
Meg Browers,
Here.
Rima Sherry,
Here.
and I'm here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tucker Holland,
Here.
Haley, I'm blanking on your last name. Forgive me.
Sorry, it's Cook, and I'm here.
Cook, thank you. And anticipated speakers on the agenda. I don't believe we have any anticipated, right? Good afternoon. This is an open meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust that's being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Affordable Housing Trust is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that all other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless otherwise noted. We now turn to the first item on the agenda, and before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective, clear conduct of business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each member, each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, Chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public who have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote will be conducted by a roll call. I will check on Penny. Your microphone working?
Yeah, sorry. Apologies for being late.
No, you're a lot late. I just jumped the gun on getting.
I've heard it before, though.
Dave Iverson, your mic up and running?
Moi?
There we go. Vicky, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
And Ken, I see, is on now too. Okay, great. So with that, we'll move to the agenda. Working with one screen today. Before we approve the agenda, I think we have some edits. Tucker, is that correct? And Vicky, we're gonna move some items.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
If I'm correct, let's move item number 6, Violet Place acceleration, to our next scheduled meeting, which I believe is next week. And 7 Amelia Drive RFP review approval as well to next week. So Haley, if you can make those notes. And with that, I think those are the only 2 edits. If we can look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a move by Penny, second from Rima by roll call. Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Penny Guy.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan, aye. Okay, so move to public comment. Approval of the minutes from prior meetings, 8/16 and 8/23. Haley, thank you for the diligent notes. Are there any edits, changes, comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll look for an approval of the minutes as written.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We'll go with Meg on the second. Vote by roll. Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Rima Sherry.
Aye.
Dave Iverson.
Aye.
Lee Guy.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan tonight. Item number 4 is public comment. We have a couple members of the public here. Thank you for joining us. I'll open the floor if anybody wants to raise a hand or make a comment. Seeing none. Any board members as members of the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We have some CCAP applications. I will start with Delgado, number 6, Unit 1, Essex Road. Does anybody have any questions about the application? Any comments? Anything for Haley? Haley, is there anything we should be aware of?
For Delgado, no, I don't believe so. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Meg, I saw your hand go up.
Just a procedural question. Who does the due diligence of making, like, fact checking their application? Is that Haley and Tucker in the office, or is that on the committee, or how does that work? I caught you in the middle of a Charleston shoe.
Yeah, started the question. I apologize. So
Good job, Meg.
the financial aspect is Housing Nantucket to qualify them through the AMI, and then they deliver their certificate to us for the application. So
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yep. Is there a motion on the application?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, great. So I'm going to elaborate on your motion with a
Okay, I'm sorry.
friendly amendment up to $15,000 with any balance to be returned to the trust.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rima by roll call. Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Meg Browers,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Dave Iverson,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye. So we'll close that one and we'll open to the THAPA application at 37 Beechcraft Road. Brooke?
So I had noticed that they checked that they had not taken the first time homebuyers class. And I couldn't remember, I know it's on the application, so I assume it's a requirement. I don't want to sideline an application. On the other hand, I want to make sure we're being consistent with all applicants in terms of the requirements. And I just was wondering, two things, I guess. When is the next available for home buyers class? Through Brian to Ann Cuspa.
Ann, can you jump in for that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Ann Cuspa, Housing Nantucket. Our next first-time homebuyer class, the in-person sessions that are free and at the high school, start on the 5th of October. So it's the 3 Wednesdays. It's at 5:30 p.m. and you can register on our website. So the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th of October. But you can take the class anytime. It's a, you could do it online as well. So if that didn't work for somebody for whatever reason, they can do it through our website online. So hope that helps.
Go ahead, Dave.
Can we approve it with the condition that it's not released until they take the class and confirm with staff? Is that a possibility?
I think that's probably a possibility. I'll go back to, is it an actual requirement? Because I'm not sure that it is. Tucker?
If you look at the application, on the opening page, it talks about who is eligible. And one of the items says you must complete an approved homebuyer training course and provide certification of completion. So I like Dave's suggestion. And how long would it take someone to complete the course online if they were intent about it?
20 hours, or it's extensive. So we're probably not 20. Let's say maybe 10.
Okay.
Brian, if I could.
Yeah, please, Dave.
I like the idea of putting the ball back in his court. You know, we approve it if, and when he finishes the class, then he gets the money. Instead of having him do it and then have to come back to us. And I just think it's a cleaner way if we just leave it with staff to confirm completion and then he's ready to go. If that's okay with staff, of course.
So Dave's made a motion.
Up to $15,000 balance to be returned to the trust. Does that cover it? Oh, and you know, based on his completion of the first time home buyers class and providing staff with the proof of that.
Second.
Great. So we have a motion and a second from Penny. Any further discussion? Seeing none, vote by roll call. Everybody moved around. So Dave Iverson,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Meg Browers,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Penny Guy,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye. Okay. I just have one question on that application, Tucker or Haley, not about the application itself, but the property. What does that unit qualify as far as one of Richmond's units? Is that a percentage wise, or maybe Ann's jumping in. Ann, what do you got?
Yeah, thank you. It's a 175% AMI unit.
Great.
It's a workforce.
Awesome. Cool.
Yep.
All right, I gotta go back to my page on the agenda, sorry. Okay, so we moved item 6, we moved item 7. So we are on to item 8, 135 and 137 Street RFP. And I'll break this, it's one line, but I'll break it into 2 conversations. Then there's 12 and 12R Bartlett Road RFP, kind of initial discussions on each. So if we start with the first one, Tucker, if I can open to you to say where we're at and what you're looking for specifically out of this conversation.
Sure. Thanks, everybody. We're excited to be at this point of looking at issuing the RFP for the Orange Street location. As the members of the board know, more recently, the land bank had acquired the adjacent parcel at 141 Orange Street. And that will allow, through our participation, for an easement for both vehicular and pedestrian traffic over the rear portion of that lot, which we think will greatly improve the flow over the main site, being 135, 137 Orange Street. So this is an RFP a draft RFP that Haley and I and Ken had put together, looking for the board's thoughts about the types of things that we're trying to achieve and encourage here. A couple of things to maybe point out at the front end of the discussion. We think that this particular location, we could not only be addressing housing need, but there may be a transportation role to play with regard to a turnout for the Wave, which presently stops in the middle of Orange Street, just a few doors down from our location, when it is, dropping off and picking up passengers, thereby completely stopping traffic for the time that it is doing its rounds. So you will see something, in that regard included in the draft. The land bank is interested and eager to collaborate on trying to address that particular aspect. And perhaps while the turnout may end up being on the 137 site, there may be the opportunity to do a small shelter, much like the one that exists across the street on the Landmark House property on the 141 site. I'll bring up one thing. Ken and I had an opportunity to meet with the executive director of the Land Bank recently, and wanted to explore the board's thoughts on whether it might be a reasonable idea to potentially allow or support, I guess is maybe a better way of saying it, a small residence on the 141 site, which would serve year-round housing needs for the land bank. This is something that they would create. They have an opportunity potentially to move a very small cottage to this location. I think the intent would to be still to maintain a decent sized green space between this house that would sort of probably get positioned near the corner of Dave and Orange Street and the housing development that we are pursuing. But that is something that we wanted to talk a little bit about today. The overall objective for the property, this is in the CMI zoning. It can allow up to 32 units across the two properties. And, we're looking to get some attractive proposals for creating rental year-round housing here. I'll mention that we are bringing both this and the Bartlett Road RFP forward at the same time. We think potentially attracting a greater pool of potentially interested parties and proposers, with greater opportunity. So I can leave it there for now, and happy to add anything that you think is useful, Brian.
Sorry. I think that's a great start. So if we open the floor up to board members with thoughts, comments, questions. Penny?
Yeah, I thought that piece that the land bank purchased was supposed to stay as open space. Did I just imagine that? Wishful
I mean,
thinking?
that was the original, the original intent was, we had approached them about potentially this is a park-ish sort of opportunity for them, as well as the easement for us. And, that, I mean, in a sense, that still is the intent. This is, I think, an opportunity that has come up on their radar more recently. And, given the nature of what we will be doing next door in terms of housing and so forth, this was something that they wanted to, get some early feedback on.
Rima?
Okay, are they allowed to do that within their mission? Can they turn their piece into a residential piece, not just a park as we thought they would? That would be the first thing. And then the other thing was, we had talked briefly about having elderly units possibly, but that's not part of it. And I guess that sort of got lost in the shuffle. But I was wondering if in the scoring, if we could add a higher score for one or more ADA units. I think it would be valuable if the developer could include at least one accessible unit for someone with disabilities, because that's a need out here.
Rima, thank you for catching that, because I'm in agreement with you. My personal comments on the land bank aspect is in the vacuum of an overall plan or proposal. I too thought it was an open space park was the original concept going into it. I understand the idea because there'll be other housing units, but if it were any property that they could do this to, they have a vast amount of options in comparison to us at the moment. Vicky?
So I can take a look at the deed that they used to acquire this property, but it will be interesting to see for what purposes they acquired it. And if they acquired it for open space purposes, then this property is Article 97 land, and it very well may not be suitable for, the residential site. So I'm going to take a look at the deed and see what the wording is. And then if it just uses, the other thing is sometimes they acquire property and it says for land bank purposes. I'm just going to take a look at their act as well, just to see if there's anything in there that allows them to switch what was Article 97 land to, this residential purpose. So there's a couple of issues there, potential issues there that we need to make sure of.
Thank you, Vicky. Ed?
Just a quick question. My apologies if I missed it. Are they saying that this is for employee housing?
Yes.
Okay.
Brooke?
Yeah, my understanding is they have something in their enabling legislation for employee housing, because they have done employee housing for years in different locations on their land. So I think it's permissible. This was a new opportunity for co-acquisition. It was the first time. And I think that the land bank, stretched themselves to do this for us. And so I would be inclined to be open to conversation about what they're thinking about and how it fits in with what we do. I don't know what their timeline is. Like if they've got to move a cottage post haste, we may not have the opportunity to see how it might fit in with what the development plans look like on our lots. But I would be open to continuing the dialogue with them because they did come to the table to help us do this, and so I want to be thoughtful about that.
Okay, thanks, Brooke. Penny?
Just as a follow-up, I want to be thoughtful about making sure there is some outside space for the people that are going to be living at this place, which
Dave?
may impact the number of units.
Yeah, space and parking will make a big, green space opportunity. If it's paved for parking for units, and this is the only green space opportunity.
No.
Thank you. Penny, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think both Penny and Brooke have very good points. I think that, we need to do whatever it takes to continue a relationship with the land bank going forward. But we should, so I'm just saying tread gently and be realistic here. I'd hate to foul up any opportunities down the road to partner with them again. But open space is important, Penny, I think, maybe.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
I have one question that I don't know the answer. Have we fully vetted the condo association about any potential access off of those private ways that the property abuts?
We had a meeting with the condo association representatives, and they are not interested in having an access across or into the private ways. The one thing that they would like to include, and this is one of the items I wanted to bring up today, is they want to sort of mutually address what, could be a temptation to someone to either, park in their lots next door, and really with the intent of spending time at the housing, and vice versa. So they would like to see a fence of some sort, or something that is discouraging folks both directions from doing that.
Is okay. Is that something outlined in the RFP?
It's something we would include in the RFP.
Okay. Rima?
Yeah, something I forgot to mention, the GIS pages that you include that illustrate the parcels show, I guess, the old outlines of the old buildings that are, I don't think they're on there any longer. If maybe those pages were switched out for the, the photographs, the overflight photographs with lot, lines on them, might be less confusing. Because if someone didn't know and they looked at it, it's like, oh, we have to demo buildings.
We'll make that change. Thanks, Rima. Are there other, other thoughts? We're following up further with the coastal resiliency folks in terms of, wanting to make sure that it's, meeting the standards that they're trying to promote across the island. So again, this is, we're not expecting the board to approve something today. We're really looking for your initial feedback.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Tucker, is the municipal municipal employee preference additive to the local preference?
Yes.
Okay. Dave's shaking his head.
Get something else. Something different.
Yeah, so that's good.
Vicky?
So, in my review of these, of this original RFP draft, so I just wanted to clarify with you, Tucker, a couple of things. So the percentage of affordability, so you're just going to have it be 80% or less, is that right?
Well, it needs to qualify in the SHI list.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're not looking for any other specific AMI preference?
Well,
restrictions?
so again, it's a question, Vicky. Again, part of what we anticipated discussing today is how prescriptive can we be in what we include here without, triggering 30B complications.
So, I mean, you can make it as broad as you want, provided we comply with, we, like you said, we want to get SHI compliance with DHCD. So, I mean, if you want to limit it to 80% or less, and then when you negotiate with these parties, you could try to, get other income levels. I don't know how open that they would be to it. But that's another way of doing it.
Well, we don't want it to be totally 80% or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we should be somewhat prescriptive to that.
Yeah.
That we want to maintain between 240% and at least 80% of the unit. Excuse me, at least 25% of the units, 80% AMI or less, with the remaining up to 240. Potentially, and then I'm confused in reading the workforce housing line. Does that apply to all units, meaning that if somebody comes forward with a 32 unit proposal, they're all year-round units? Or could 75% of them not be year-round units in a proposal?
100% need to
Right.
be year round.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dave?
Because we're using the workforce bylaw to get some extra units in there, correct?
Correct.
So yeah, so all of them are gonna have to be year round.
Great.
Right.
Brooke?
So I guess the question is, do we want to prescribe any lower income units?
Mhm.
Require any units at like, Tucker, do you remember on the Tacoma Green RFP whether the steps were laid out or whether the applicants?
It was not prescribed.
Okay,
I mean, other than they all needed to be SHI eligible, and we would like to see a mix of incomes.
can we give a higher score if they include some units below, like at 60% or below, so that we pull a couple of lower income units into the mix, not just 80%? Because obviously the financial incentive is to do them at 80%. Especially, I know with Tacoma Green, there was a financing incentive to do lower income units, but at this scale, there isn't the availability of that money. So we would have to prescribe that we wanted a unit, at or below 60% if we wanted to. Otherwise, there's zero incentive for a developer to offer
Well, this is
lower
the,
income units.
Brooke, this is the only project or property we own that somebody could potentially go for LIHTC financing with 60% units. Because it needs to be what, 20 units to be?
Yes.
Oh,
So-
it does have access to LIHTC. Okay, all right.
So
So
if a developer chose to come to us with 20 or more units at 60%, they could apply for LIHTC financing.
okay, all right. So it is available to them. There
But
is an incentive.
I don't know if we need to note that somewhere, like to encourage it. Like, that would be great if somebody showed up with 20 units at 60% or, Dave?
Yeah, and I just asked this because I don't think I've been through an RFP process like this before. Do we start to take possible applicants out of the mix when we prescribe too heavily? Like if we said this many 60%, is that going to scare a bunch of developers away?
Potentially, yeah.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's probably bad because to your point, right? Like this is the beginning
Yeah.
of RFPs at this size, so we don't know who all the players are potentially.
I mean, that's my only fear. I would love to get as many, units at even 60, but I fear if we prescribe too many, then we're gonna scare some people off, and maybe we can negotiate some more once we get the hook set, but in the beginning, that's my only concern.
Appreciate the Inshore Classic reference there. Brooke?
Yeah, I would agree. I was really raising the question for informational purposes, not because I felt that's what we should do.
Vicky?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, Brooke.
So when we did the Tacoma Green, I pulled up what we had. This is the same language that's in Tacoma Green. It was 80%, 25% of the units must be rented to 80% or less of the AMI. So, but what was interesting is this developer on their own came to us, had decided he was going to do LIHTC funding, and he got, was going to apply for tax credits. So, I mean, that's something that's kind of more on the developer's end, that way you don't restrict the number, what they're going to build. You're open to what they want to build, and it's kind of up to them to come up with the funding that they think will work for them.
Thank you, Vicky. Tucker?
Yeah, and with Six Fairgrounds, you scored higher, with again the more you were restricting, wanting some, in that particular case, there were some that were desired at market rate. But I guess what I was going to point out is, as you all know, Six Fairgrounds is a project that we're certainly hoping / anticipating is going to be moving forward here. And that includes in it 26 units at the 60 and 30% AMI level. So there is a decent amount of inventory, plan to come online at that type of level that you're talking about, in addition to the 6 units that we did at 50% AMI at Richmond, and there's another another tranche similar to that coming up. So I guess I would just be a little cautious about prescribing too much 60% AMI in this particular location, given that 20 unit threshold in order to get a tax credit award, and the fact that we, Nantucket in effect just got a tax credit award. So it probably will be a few years before there's an opportunity to get another one, given how competitive they are. So these are just all factors to consider.
Thank you, Tucker. Any other points or comments or questions on this as staff develops this RFP a little tighter? Okay. Tucker, thank you.
Thank you. And so now, are there any comments with regard to 12 and 12R Bartlett Road, which was obviously created in a similar fashion to the Orange Street RFP?
Brooke?
Is there an estimated unit count for that? I looked through and I didn't see, it's outlined in the 135, 137, but I don't know whether I missed it when I looked at the Bartlett Road.
It's sort of contained, I think, in the evaluation spreadsheet scoring. So like up to a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There. Never mind. Any other thoughts or comments, Rima?
Again, possibly a bonus for one or more ADA, just to throw it in there if possible. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I should have said this before when you brought it up. I mean, it's a great point. I mean, they're going to be required to have a certain number of ADA units in order that they can go onto the SHI list.
Oh.
Yes, but I'll confirm the exact number for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably more than one.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any other commentary? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chair, I just was wanting to note that I think we've had Laura McCloskey join the meeting, as you may not have been here for the original discussion around she's representing the neighbors at the Orange Street site, the condominium association. And Laura, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to the discussion. We did talk earlier about something fence or what have you between our property and the condominium association to discourage folks both directions from utilizing parking at the other location.
Great. I'm excited that you did that. Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here for the first part of the meeting.
No problem.
Yes, obviously the condominium association, which is comprised of 40 distinct owners, is clearly interested in the development of the property. And, you know, while we are excited that it will finally be taken from what has essentially been at some points a dangerous property, while it had buildings that were waiting to be condemned on it. So we're excited to have it converted to something useful, and especially excited to have it be converted to something, you know, housing wise, that will truly benefit the community. But on the other hand, you know, parking in Mid-Island is always an issue. And, you know, that's you know, our parking lots are consistently busy even in the winter. And, you know, we do end up towing people, you know, every month for people who think that we are, you know, a community lot when we really are not. So we feel that the fence would be, not, you know, it's not a perfect solution, but it is at least a deterrent.
Thank you. Haley, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Two things. One, regarding that fence, is that something that we should put into the RFP specifically, or that should be negotiated after? Tucker's
No,
nodding his head
we're going
yes.
to include that.
Okay, thank you. And then the other one is going back to 12 and 12R regarding Rima's comment. Tucker had mentioned that ADA is a requirement for SHI units. Is there a desire to add a note about a ADA unit for non-SHI, for the non-SHI units, so that there's accessibility for folks who are not in the affordability category, or do we want to leave that open?
Vicky?
So all the units in the project are going to be eligible for SHI, for subsidized.
Oh, right, okay.
So it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
you know, whether
that's
it's put into a market rate or.
Thank you, Vicky. I was
You're
going back to a different property. Sorry, thanks.
It's okay.
Meg?
I think when I read through the proposal, you wanted this to be like a walkable, community involved workforce housing project, right? And so you're not gonna be able to put a fence around the entire thing. You're gonna want those people to be able to walk out and go to Marine, go to the grocery store, go to the post office, the pharmacy. So to whatever degree that fence keeps them from maybe parking right here at the end of the Sophie T's lot and then walking directly into that property, I just question the message that sends, putting up a big giant fence along that side to keep them out of the condo association's lot. I'm sitting here right in the condo association lot right now, which is why I'm gesturing that way. But it, like, to me, sitting here thinking about that fence, it sends a really negative message to put this big fence up, like, rather than using some signage for parking or some messaging to the tenants, like, don't do this, you have your own parking, yada, 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 rather than being like, big ugly fence, when they're gonna still have to have accessible ways to get around and come over here to all the community services. So just 2 cents to put out there. To me, that feels a little bit jarring to put that fence there. And that's coming from someone who's working in the condo association lot.
On that note, my only concern about it going into the RFP is the HDC and creating an RFP that has a requirement that another board may or may not approve. I caution that. I understand the intent of the conversation, but I would hate that to become a roadblock on a bigger part of the project. So that's my addition to Meg's notes. Dave?
No, I 100% appreciate what Meg's saying, but I think with proper landscaping and footpath going out through the property that the land bank, we partnered with the land bank, I think it doesn't need to be Alcatraz-ish. I think it can, a break can be created there and it can still be appealing. and have a walking path going in the direction of the Stop and Shop and that part of town. So I agree. I like a big fence is a terrible look and nobody wants it, but I think with some thought, we could definitely soften it and still make it difficult. I mean, I thought 10 feet of Rosa Rugosa between there and the condos would do the job, but you know what I'm saying? We could definitely soften it and address it that way.
I think the point is that we understand the association through Mrs. McCluskey's comments that they're concerned about parking and the use, and are there ways to discourage that? Whether they create signage on their property or we offer some signage or landscape or some barrier. I think the conversation and intent has been made, and that can be conveyed to anybody that applies for the RFP. But I think making it a requirement of the RFP could be limiting.
Well, we'll include something in the next draft that gets at the intent. I mean, I don't think anyone was envisioning the Berlin Wall, but we but something that gets at Ms. McCloskey's intent, I think, can be included, and we can take a look at that and see what folks think.
Great. Any more thoughts or comments at this time? Tucker, Haley, Vicky, can you define, I'll throw this to Tucker. Can you define the process and rollout for us to publish these RFPs? So kind of the public understands what our goals for timing are?
Sure, and I'll invite Vicky to jump in here too. But generally, so we've gotten some feedback today. We have a draft. We're going to incorporate that feedback. Vicky is going to provide her own feedback on the draft that we have. We will send it to the procurement department to get their input. And we would expect to, come back to the board with something, that is at the next level for, further / potentially final input, and that subject or subsequent, I should say, to the board being happy that it reflects the desired goals for the particular property. We would then have the procurement department issue the issue the RFP through the Combis public process, and those are typically, again, Vicky can elaborate on the particulars of that.
So, as Tucker said, once we have a final project, a final RFP that we've approved, that you've approved of, so then we would have you authorize us to send, to publish it. It goes in, a notice goes in the central register. There are notices in, the newspaper about it. So, if you wanted to put it into any other publications, perhaps that of that you may think you could attract developers from, you can also do that as well. And so then, we determine how much time we want to give these, responses to have. I think right now, I think it was tentatively set for, the tentative set was like September 28th, and proposal submission deadline Wednesday, January 4th, I think. So, we're looking for a little ways off. So, if we can get this done in the next few weeks and push it out, that certainly, would behoove us to do that.
Okay,
I
great.
think the idea is to get it done sooner rather than later.
Yes. Okay.
And the other thing is, I know that, we may be interested in what kind of access we have to those roadways. And I can also check, I'll check that I'm going to do have some title work done to just confirm what access, if any, is available on the side road.
Thank you. Like, we definitely have the right of way access to the one abutting property that has an Orange Street address.
Yeah, I think particularly Bartlett, the Bartlett Road location, we are working on determining the availability of access to the 30 acres lane.
Yeah, because that's a real issue, and I'm starting to talk to the people that are involved with the homeowners association there.
I think that's for both properties on all abutting lines. Is worth understanding.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicky. Any more? No, I'll go back to the agenda and figure out what's next. Wait, Rima, go ahead. I'm sorry, just as soon as I switch off screens, I can't see hands. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I kind of got a little brain fog going over the Bartlett Road RFP after the other one. Is there sort of any mention of family friendly aspect to the project, given the proximity to the schools? You know, maybe a higher score for more, 2 or 3 bedroom units rather than 1 bedroom or studios, just, given the location. That's something we might want to consider.
One thing on that note that I was going to kind of bring that up as well, Rima, but I think the location is very interesting because of the schools. Is the ground cover ratio on that property more significant per unit than others? Meaning, could the units actually be bigger within the same unit count? I don't, to Rima's point, if you get a little more square footage, does it live more family friendly? And that's, I don't know, but I like your train of thought, Rima.
We certainly can prioritize that in the evaluation criteria.
Well, yeah, does anybody else have thoughts or comments on that, or? Seeing nobody jump at it. Rima's point is noted and seconded by me. And we'll move on. Brooke?
My mind goes in 2 directions, which is more family units in smaller units or larger families in bigger units. I can argue either side of it. So you're seeing me.
Well, I think in unit count, right, it's interesting whether somebody chooses to do 2 1-bedrooms that are a total smaller square footage versus if we give more criteria for 2 2-bedrooms, which are a little more square footage. Do we rate those higher, higher bedroom count? I don't know. I think it's worth noting in the criteria in some manner.
I think, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Penny.
Brian, I guess through you to Tucker, are we keeping track of size of units overall someplace?
Square footage or bedrooms?
Or both?
We can pull that information together. Yeah.
It would probably make some sense for this kind of a discussion to have that going forward.
Is there, Brian?
Hi, Dave.
Do we have a sense of, we know the demand is overwhelming, but
Everywhere.
is it just across the board? Do we have any sense of demand as far as sizes, as families or single units? Do we have any sense, or just everything's needed terribly?
So I think if we accomplish all the units that we are potentially able to account for, we are probably not addressing it on any level enough. I think actually the most qualified person to probably answer this is Anne, because she sees more applications than anybody. Anne, do you mind answering that question?
Sure, thank you. Ann Cuspa, Housing Nantucket.
So the 2-bedroom is the most versatile unit, and there's a lot of demand for that size unit because you can fit a variety of different household sizes in there, from 2-person household to 4-person household. So a bunch, depending on the genders of the children. If they're same sex, then you can put them in a single bedroom. So that would be the one that's in most demand. The 3-bedroom, I know that there's a requirement for at least 10%, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky or Tucker, but it's 10% of the units that you're developing need to be 3-bedroom. And the origin of that is, from what I understand, doesn't happen here, but in other communities, maybe the taxpayers don't really want to have to expand the schools, so they're less inclined to build the 3-bedroom units. So that's why you're required to put in those 3-bedroom units. For us, we don't have a lot of 3-bedroom units in Housing Nantucket's inventory, but at this time we're going to be rolling out quite a few 3-bedrooms through the workforce units and the 80% AMI units in the Sandpiper developments. There's a couple of 3-bedrooms coming out there, and then the Habitat also. So, those are certainly in demand, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Ann.
If it's baked in, it's
Go ahead,
baked.
Dave.
I'm sorry, if it's baked in, I guess it sounds like 2 bedrooms are a more utilitarian functional size. Yeah, maybe we could attract families with other things, swing sets and playgrounds. I don't know, because there's a perfect location, as Brooke points out. That's it for me.
Thanks, Dave. Brooke?
The needs are across the board. And to Ann's point, if there's a couple with children of different genders, they are not allowed into a 2-bedroom unit, even if they qualify. So it's just interesting. Depending on who I talk to and where their personal perspective or the perspective of their peers is, I'm constantly being told we need to do more of X, Y, and Z, because there's not enough of any of them. So, but I do think it would be interesting, to Penny's point, to just know what is the bedroom count, the unit number of units at each bedroom size that we have coming up in the pipeline. And just what is that? Is there a need to push one direction or the other on one of these?
Vicky?
So the other thing that we probably need to look at is the bylaw, because when we did Tacoma Green, we had a limit that we could not exceed 57 bedrooms pursuant to the bylaw, and that was for obviously more units than what we're anticipating here. So we need to revisit what the bylaw requirement is as far as the number of bedrooms under that bylaw.
Do you remember?
Well, it's 57 per 60,000 square feet. And so Tacoma Green will have 114 bedrooms across the 64 units.
Okay. So it's 57 for lot, and we have how many square footage here? We have one lot, right? So we could have up to 57 bedrooms. Is that what you're saying?
There are 2 lots, each of which is a little bit over 60,000 square feet. So there are 57 bedrooms allowed per lot, so 114 in total for that particular project.
When you say that particular, you mean the 6 FGR project, not
Correct, correct.
137. Neither
Correct.
one, neither 137. What I'm confused about now is that neither 137 or 135 are 30,000 square feet. Is that correct? Or
No,
one is
One of
Right.
them is.
Combined, they meet the minimum lot size. The minimum 60,000 square feet,
for a total of how many bedrooms?
57, I believe.
So we have 57 bedrooms to work with in 30 potential units.
Up to 32 units, yeah.
Up to 32 units. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, 12 and 12R combined is 30,000 square feet.
And so we have 57 bedrooms there for 12 units.
So
Right.
let us, for our next round, let us bring, Haley, can you mute just for a sec? Sorry.
Oh, yep.
For our next round, let us, bring back the table that Penny was talking about, and that may help facilitate the discussion.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So we'll carry these over to the next agenda. Now, do you want this? No, we have a meeting next week. Are you saying you want to do that next week, or you want to push it to a future meeting?
Let us circle back to you on whether
Sure.
whether we would have enough. We want to obviously pull it all together. I'm not sure there's enough time in the 1 week to do that.
Okay, so Haley, will you keep both of these items on the next agenda for the publishing on Thursday in case it makes it, but the conversation may get rolled to a future meeting? Okay. I'm going to go back to the agenda. Approvals. Other business? Is there any other business that's not on the agenda to be discussed? Okay, seeing none, close other business, upcoming meetings. We have a meeting next Tuesday at 12:30. Go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, I know I won't be able to be here for that.
Okay.
Not that it matters, but
You can
Heads
send
up.
notes, or I'll text you through the whole meeting so we can have your feedback.
oh, thank you so much.
No problem. With that, any other board comments? Okay, seeing none with that, we'll move to item 11, executive session. Is there a motion for executive session from somebody who regularly makes it that feels like it today? That's Penny.
I don't have it in front of me, but I could try and wing it.
Sure.
All right.
Please.
I make a motion that we adjourn this regular meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust for the purpose of going into executive session where we may be discussing, oh God, I'm going to get lost, real estate and items that
Purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Sully,
Where the meeting may have a detrimental effect.
it may have
on
a detrimental
negotiating.
effect. Yeah, thank you. Not to return to the regular meeting.
Great teamwork.
Oh, geez.
Motion by Penny, seconded by Rima, I think I just heard.
Yeah, a second.
By roll call, Meg Browers,
Aye.
Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Rima Sherry,
Aye.
Dave Iverson,
Aye.
Guy,
Oh, aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye.
Thank
So
you.
Go to the other link.